The judgment chamber stretched beyond comprehension. Ambassador Marcus Webb stood at the center of a crystalline floor so vast that the far walls disappeared into haze. Above him, holographic forms materialized in ascending tiers. Hundreds upon hundreds of alien species arranged in a deliberate hierarchy that spoke volumes about power and age. The oldest civilizations occupied the highest positions. Looking down upon newer species with the casual disdain of immortals judging mayflies, Marcus forced himself to remain still. His gray suit felt inadequate against the spectacle surrounding him. To his left, a creature of living flame pulsed within a containment field. To his right, something that resembled a crystallized thought pattern hummed at frequencies that made his teeth ache. Behind him, the serpentine form of the Velic ambassador coiled around an elevated platform, its scales catching light in ways that hurt to observe directly. The Quarath High Chancellor materialized at the chamber's apex, a being of pure energy contained within magnetic fields that crackled with barely restrained power. When it spoke, the voice resonated in every language simultaneously. A trick of technology that made translation instant and absolute. Species designation humanity. You stand accused before this council of 43 violations of expansion protocol. Your colonies exceed designated boundaries. Your mining operations ignore preservation zones. Your military vessels patrol restricted space. You have received 17 official warnings over 3 standard cycles. The patience of this council has reached its limit. Marcus said nothing. He had learned in 30 years of military service and 15 years of diplomatic negotiations that silence often communicated more than words. Around him, the assembled species waited for him to grovel, to plead, to beg for mercy as countless younger civilizations had done before. He simply stood there, hands clasped behind his back, expression neutral. The Velic ambassador descended from its platform, moving with predatory grace. Its translator rendered the hissing speech into flat, emotionless words. Your silence confirms guilt. Human. The council, in its mercy, offers final terms. Withdraw all colonies beyond your home system. Decommission your fleet to monitoring levels only. Accept orbital stations above your world to ensure compliance. You have 1 planetary rotation to agree. Around the chamber, sounds of approval echoed. Clicks from insectoid species. Subsonic rumbles from beings the size of buildings. Musical tones from creatures humanity had no classification for. The message was clear. The elder species had never known defiance from younger races. They expected compliance. Marcus took a breath. Everything depended on the next few seconds. Behind him, invisible to the council, Earth's entire leadership watched through quantum-encrypted channels. Every word he spoke would echo across human space and potentially determine the survival of his species. No. The single word created a silence so profound that Marcus could hear his own heartbeat. The Velic ambassador froze mid-movement. The Quarath High Chancellor's energy form flickered with what might have been surprise or rage. Clarify your response immediately, the Chancellor demanded. I said no. We refuse your terms. We are done negotiating. We are done compromising. We are done being treated like primitives who stumbled into civilized space without permission. Marcus kept his voice level, calm, almost conversational. For 73 years, humanity has followed your protocols. We have accepted territorial restrictions. We have swallowed insults. We have played by rules designed to keep us weak. That ends today. Massive Drake and representative, a species famous for crushing rebellions with ruthless efficiency, produced a sound like grinding boulders. Its translator interpreted it as laughter. 1 species, 1 minor world, barely a century into space travel. You dare threaten 847 civilizations that span this galaxy? Marcus reached into his jacket pocket. Instantly, every security system in the chamber activated. Weapons charged with sounds like reality tearing. Energy shields materialized in geometric patterns. The air itself seemed to vibrate with potential violence focused on the single human standing. At the center of everything, he withdrew a data chip no larger than his thumb. This chip contains precise coordinates for 1,200 47 objects, Marcus said quietly. Objects currently in stable orbit around each of your homeworlds. Objects your detection systems have never registered. Objects that have been in position for 15 years? While you focused on our visible fleet movements and obvious colony expansions, he activated the chip. Holographic displays erupted throughout the chamber, showing orbital diagrams of worlds whose names were legend. Velic Prime with its triple moons. The crystal cities of Quor. The deep ocean world of Mecton. The forge planets of the Drakon Supremacy. Around each world, red indicators marked positions. Dozens of positions. Sometimes hundreds. For 15 years, you monitored our ships. You counted our weapons. You tracked our resources. All the pieces you could see, but you never considered what you could not see. Marcus gestured to the displays. Humanity developed technology based on principles your physics cannot detect. Because your species evolved with different sensory ranges, we manipulate dark matter. We fold space at quantum levels. We use biosynthetic camouflage that mimics stellar radiation patterns. Your instruments filter as background noise. The Quoroth Chancellor's form darkened, energy patterns shifting to aggressive configurations. You would not dare launch such weapons. The retaliation would erase your species from existence. You're absolutely correct, Marcus agreed. Those are not weapons in any traditional sense. They are not bombs. They are not missiles. They are insurance policies. The Mecton representative, a collective consciousness speaking through 1,000 small forms, whispered in unison. Explain the nature of this insurance. These devices require a coded transmission every 24 hours to remain dormant. If Earth is attacked, transmissions stop. If our colonies are invaded, transmissions stop. If any council species moves militarily against human interests, transmissions stop. Marcus paused, letting the implications settle. And if transmissions stop, your civilizations return to pre-industrial status. Not destroyed, not obliterated, just powerless. Every electrical system fails. Every computer network collapses. Every power grid goes dark. You survive, but you start over from the beginning. The chamber erupted into chaos. Species arguing in dozens of languages. Accusations flying. Threats being made. Marcus stood silent at the center of the storm, waiting for the noise to die down. The Draken representative pushed forward, massive and intimidating. This is terrorism. This is an act of war against the entire galactic community. No, Marcus corrected coldly. This is deterrence. The same principle every species in this chamber uses to maintain power. The only difference is that we are younger, and you never expected us to learn your lesson so thoroughly. We watched every war you fought. We studied every species you suppressed. We analyzed every threat you made to maintain control. We became very good students. The Velic ambassador hissed, "What do you want, human? State your demands." Equal standing in this council. Equal voting rights. Equal territorial claims. No more junior species status. No more probationary restrictions. No more being treated as children who need permission to grow. Marcus met the eyes of beings who had ruled when humans still lived in caves. We want what you have always denied us. Equality. Possible, the Chancellor declared. Hierarchies maintain stability. Your species has existed in space for barely a century. Elder races have governed for millennia. Your request violates 10,000 years of established order. Then established order ends today. The temperature in the chamber seemed to drop despite the environmental controls. Species that had witnessed stars being born felt something rare. Uncertainty. You threaten mutual destruction over status? The Velic ambassador demanded. This is insanity. This is inevitability. You created a system where the only path to equality was through force. You gave us no legitimate options. You left us no choice, except to prove we could not be ignored. Marcus deactivated the displays. Those devices activate in 72 hours unless we transmit cancellation codes. Every 24 hours, Earth must send those codes. If we are attacked, codes stop. If our people are harmed, codes stop. If you move against us, codes stop. He turned slowly, addressing every species present. You taught us that power is the only currency that matters, that mercy is weakness, that compromise is surrender. We learned those lessons perfectly. The question now is whether you will survive the education we are about to provide in return. Marcus walked toward the exit, his footsteps echoing in the massive chamber. At the threshold, he paused and looked back at the assembled might of galactic civilization. 72 hours. Choose wisely. The doors closed behind him, leaving 847 species in stunned silence. Staring at the empty space, where one human had just changed everything, the countdown dominated every information network across known space. Humanity's ultimatum leaked within minutes of Marcus leaving the judgment chamber. Whether by accident or deliberate design, nobody could determine. But the result was the same. Panic spread through civilizations that had never known genuine fear. On Earth's moon, Admiral Patricia Cole stood in the LUN. AR Command Center, a facility so secret that most of humanity did not know it existed. The room stretched 300 meters beneath the lunar surface, lined with displays showing tactical positions across the entire solar system. Blue markers indicated human assets. Red showed Council forces mobilizing. Yellow represented neutral zones where both sides watched each other with weapons ready, Captain. David Okonkwo pulled up fleet movement data, his fingers dancing across holographic controls. 73 Council species have moved warships into attack positions around our outer colonies. The Velic Third Fleet is 8 hours from Mars at maximum acceleration. Draken hunter groups are prowling through the asteroid belt, but they are holding position. Not advancing, not retreating, just waiting. They cannot risk calling our bluff, Colonel James Rivera observed from his station. But they also cannot afford to believe we will follow through. The Council has never faced this situation before. Dr. Elizabeth Park entered carrying a tablet, her expression urgent. Admiral, the Council has sent a verification team. They demand we demonstrate one of our alleged devices in neutral space. They want proof our capabilities are real. Cole's jaw tightened. Smart move. They cannot attack us directly without knowing if we are serious. Which world are they demanding access to? None. They want us to reveal a device in open space. Prove the technology exists without risking their homeworlds. Rivera nodded appreciatively. Clever. If we refuse, they assume we are bluffing. If we comply, and the technology fails, they attack immediately. If we succeed, they know the threat is genuine. Admiral Cole studied the tactical displays. Every human outpost, every colony, every ship represented lives depending on decisions made in this room. Dr. Park, can we give them a demonstration that proves capability without revealing our full technological advantage? Park smiled slightly. I have prepared something appropriate. 6 hours later, a Council verification vessel waited in the neutral zone, a region of space claimed by no species and monitored by all. The ship was Velic design, bristling with sensor arrays and analysis equipment. Inside, Science Director Ven supervised 36 specialists from different species. These humans claim undetectable technology. Ven's translated voice carried contempt. When they produce their device, we will analyze every component. We will find weaknesses. Their advantage ends today. A human shuttle approached on open channels. Verification team. This is Dr. Park of Earth's Technology Division, preparing to demonstrate requested capability. The shuttle stopped 10 kilometers distant and deployed a small sphere. Barely 3 meters across, simple metallic construction with no obvious features. That Ven's energy form rippled with disdain. Full spectrum analysis. Scan everything. Dozens of sensors locked onto the sphere. The data returning made no sense to the technicians. Mass readings contradicted themselves. Electromagnetic signatures were impossible. The sphere appeared to be reflecting scanning beams back with perfect precision, like a mirror that should not exist. Increase scanning power, Ven ordered. The intensity grew. The sphere simply floated in space, doing nothing visible. Dr. Park's voice came through communication channels. Verification team, I am activating the device secondary function. Please observe your current status. The sphere flashed once. Every system on the Council ship died instantly. Life support, propulsion, weapons, communications, everything. Emergency backup systems failed to activate. The massive verification vessel drifted silent and powerless in empty space, in absolute darkness. Then heard Park's voice through a single speaker, somehow powered by the device itself. What you are experiencing is a directed electromagnetic pulse tuned specifically to Veloc power systems. The device analyzed your ship's energy signature in 3 milliseconds and generated a perfect counterfrequency. Your vessel is undamaged. Systems will restore in 30 seconds. But understand this. We just disabled a Council military ship from 10 kilometers away. Through your shields, without triggering any defensive countermeasures, lights flickered. Systems rebooted. Every being on that bridge sat in shocked silence. The devices around your homeworlds are similar, but designed for permanent effect, Park continued. Activated simultaneously, they would reduce your planets to pre-industrial conditions. No power, no communications, no defenses. Not destroyed, just helpless. And before you consider trying to locate and disable them, understand that they are quantum entangled in pairs. Interfering with one triggers immediate activation of all others. The communication ended. The human shuttle collected its demonstration sphere and departed. On the Council ship, Ven immediately transmitted encrypted data to the Korath Chancellor. Message contents: threat verified. Technology real. No defense possible. Back on Earth, Marcus met with planetary leaders in a secure conference room deep beneath Geneva. President Julia Martinez reviewed incoming communications. The Council is fragmenting. We are receiving private messages from 47 species. Some want negotiation. Others demand immediate attack. A few are asking to ally with us against the Council majority. Expected, Marcus replied. The Council maintained unity for millennia because nobody could challenge them all simultaneously. We changed that equation. Now each species wonders if their allies will sacrifice their homeworlds to maintain the established order. Prime Minister Raj Khatri pulled up intelligence reports. The Veloc are organizing a strike force, but the Korath are blocking authorization. The Mechtan have gone completely silent. The Draken are requesting a private meeting with you, Ambassador. Marcus raised an eyebrow. The Draken were most aggressive in the chamber. According to sources, they respect strength above all else. They are not happy about being threatened, but apparently admire the boldness that represents either opportunity or trap. Probably both, President Martinez said. Will you meet them? Marcus considered carefully. The Draken were the Council's primary military force. If they could be neutralized through negotiation, the Council's ability to threaten Earth collapsed. Arrange it. Neutral location. And ensure Admiral Cole has the lunar garrison ready if this goes wrong. 48 hours remained on the countdown. The meeting occurred at Titan Station, human facility orbiting Saturn's largest moon. General Marcus Kane arrived alone, 4 meters of scaled muscle and visible combat augmentations. His eyes held the weight of centuries of warfare. He entered the conference room where Marcus waited equally alone. 2 apex predators sizing each other up. Ambassador, Kane's voice rumbled like an avalanche. You have created an interesting situation. General, my species has a saying. The strongest predator is not the one with sharpest claws, but the one who knows when to use them. Kane settled into a reinforced chair. You have shown claws. The question is whether you possess the will to actually use them. Would you like to test that theory? Marcus asked quietly. Kane's laugh shook the room. No, because I believe you would. The Veloc think you are bluffing. The Korath think you can be reasoned with. Lesser species are terrified, but I recognize what I see in your eyes, human. You've already accepted that this might cost everything. That makes you the most dangerous being in this galaxy. Then why are we talking? Because the Draken respects strength, and because I am tired of being used as a blunt instrument by politicians who have never fought their own battles. Kane produced a data device. I will share something with you. Information the Council keeps classified. About what happens to species who successfully defy them. Holographic images showed devastation. Planets reduced to rubble. Populations scattered. Civilizations erased completely from historical records. 19 species in the last 1,000 years attempted what you were doing. The Council made examples of every one. Complete annihilation. Marcus studied the images without flinching. You are warning me? No. I am showing you what you have actually done. Kane gestured to the devastated worlds. Every one of these species had military advantages. Everyone thought they could negotiate from strength. Everyone failed because they underestimated the Council's willingness to sacrifice anything to maintain control. And you think we will fail similarly? I think you are different. You did not build a better fleet. You created stalemate. Mutually assured devastation. The Council can destroy Earth, but only by accepting hundreds of their own worlds fall simultaneously. That has never happened before. Marcus waited, sensing more coming. The Draken War Council has been discussing the situation. We enforce Council law because it maintains order. But we are not fools. We see how this ends. Either the Council accepts you as equals, or the galaxy burns. We have no interest in the second option. What are you proposing? The Drakon will abstain from military action against humanity. We will not vote in your favor in Council. That would be political suicide. But we will not vote against you either. And if the Velok or others decide to strike despite consequences, warriors recognize warriors. We will not help destroy a species brave enough to hold a knife to the galaxy's throat. Marcus felt the weight of that statement. Without Draken military support, any Council attack would be severely weakened. Why? Because power structures change. They always do. The Velok have ruled too long. New blood brings new ideas. And frankly, I am curious to see if you can pull this off. It would be entertaining. As Kane departed, he paused. One more thing. You have 24 hours remaining. The Velok are planning something. My scouts report unusual movements near your outer colonies. Watch yourself. Marcus immediately contacted Admiral Cole. We have a problem. The Velok know exactly where to look. As he spoke, alarms erupted across the Lunar Command Center. A technician shouted, Admiral, we lost contact with Mars colony. All communications dead. Massive energy signature building in Earth's orbit. It matches Velok's stealth technology. The countdown showed 23 hours, 47 minutes remaining. Whatever the Velok were planning was already in motion. The energy distortion appeared without warning in high Earth orbit. A massive warping of space itself that made every sensor scream warnings. Admiral Cole felt ice in her veins as dreadnoughts decloaked. Each one 5 kilometers of weapons designed to crack continents. Count them. She ordered. 43, and still appearing, Captain Okonkwo reported, voice tight. Admiral, quantum dating suggests these ships have been hiding in orbit for weeks. They positioned themselves before Ambassador Webb even entered the judgment chamber. Colonel Rivera swore. This was always their plan. They knew we would make demands. They prepared the response in advance. On the lead dreadnought Coiled Vengeance, Fleet Commander Solace reviewed tactical displays with cold satisfaction. The humans had made a classic error. They assumed the Council would react predictably. But Solace had survived for centuries of warfare by being unpredictable. Status of Mars colony jamming? Solace hissed. Active, Commander. They cannot send or receive transmissions. Colonists do not even know we are present. Excellent. Open channel to Human Military Command. Every screen in Lunar Command suddenly displayed the same image. Commander Solace coiled around a command throne, eyes gleaming with predatory intelligence. Admiral Cole, Ambassador Webb. How convenient to address you both. I am Commander Solace of the Velok Dominion Fleet. We have matters to discuss. Marcus had returned to the fortress when alarm sounded. He stepped forward. You are violating Earth's sovereign space. Sovereignty requires power to enforce it, Solace replied. Let me clarify your position. My fleet surrounds your homeworld. Another fleet surrounds Mars. Your colonies at Europa, Titan, and Ganymede are similarly blockaded. Your vaunted stealth technology is impressive, but ultimately irrelevant when we can destroy everything you value faster than you can activate your devices. Cole's fingers moved across her console, assessing options. None were good. Here is what will happen, Solace continued. You will transmit deactivation codes for all devices around Council worlds. You will surrender Ambassador Webb and military leadership for trial. You will accept permanent Council occupation of your system. Do this, and your species lives. Refuse, and in 3 hours, my fleet reduces Earth's surface to molten glass. Your move, humans? The transmission ended. Lunar Command erupted into controlled chaos. Every officer understood what this meant. Activate the devices, and Earth died. Surrender, and humanity became slaves. There was no third option visible. Or was there? Dr. Park burst through the door, face flushed from running. Admiral, I need authorization to access Achilles' protocol. Cole turned sharply. That protocol was theoretical. You said it might not work, said it was untested. Different thing, entirely.
Park pulled up schematics.
We focused so much on devices around Council worlds that everyone forgot about devices we built for home defense. Marcus studied the designs. These are not the same technology. No, these are better. We developed Council world devices 15 years ago, but we have been improving constantly. The defensive grid around Earth is latest generation, and it has capabilities the Velok do not know about, such as localized quantum displacement. We cannot move something as large as a dreadnought, but we can move something as large as their primary weapons systems. Specifically, we can displace those systems into subspace for approximately 43 seconds. Marcus saw it immediately. Disarm them without destroying them. Exactly. They fire, nothing happens. They are sitting helpless for 43 seconds while weapons literally exist in another dimension. By the time weapons return to normal space, our railgun platforms will have targeted every critical system on every ship. Rivera leaned forward. But they still surround Earth. Even disarmed, they could ram population centers. 43 dreadnoughts crashing into cities would kill billions. Not if they cannot navigate, Park countered. The displacement field affects any system operating on quantum-synchronized principles. That includes Velok, navigation computers, communication arrays, and life support coordinators. Cole felt a cold smile forming. How long to activate? The grid is active now. I just need authorization to engage. Marcus and Cole exchanged looks. They had prepared for this scenario. I hoped it would not come to this, but prepared nonetheless. The decision was not whether they could do it, but whether they should reveal how much more advanced their defensive technology had become. If we show them this capability, Marcus said quietly, there is no more negotiating. They will know we have been holding back. Every species in the Council will realize we have been playing a deeper game than they imagined. Good, Cole replied. I am tired of being underestimated. Dr. Park, you have authorization. Engage Achilles' protocol the moment the Velico put fire. Understood, Admiral. Marcus opened a channel to the Velok fleet. Commander Solace, I have a counter-proposal. On coiled vengeance, Solace's eyes narrowed. You have no position from which to negotiate. That is where you are wrong. You see, Commander, you made the same mistake the Council always makes. You assumed humanity's greatest achievement was the devices around your homeworlds. Those are impressive, certainly. But they are not our best work. They are our oldest work. Solace felt the first doubt. Explain. The devices around Council worlds were deployed 15 years ago. Since then, we have had 15 years to improve the technology. To refine it. To make it better. The defensive grid around Earth is not the same generation as your threat. It is 5 generations ahead. Want a demonstration? Admiral Cole Marcus said formally. Please show Commander Solace what happens when someone threatens our homeworld. Cole nodded to Park, who activated a single node of the defensive grid. The effect was instantaneous and beautiful. The Velok dreadnought farthest from Earth simply stopped. Not destroyed, not damaged. Just frozen in space, as if time itself had paused. The 5-kilometer vessel hung motionless, every system offline, every weapon inert. What have you done? Solace hissed. Localized temporal stasis field, Marcus replied calmly. The ship is fine. The crew is fine. They are experiencing time at a rate approximately 1/1,000,000th of normal. From their perspective, they have been frozen for a few nanoseconds. From ours, we have about 6 hours to decide what to do with them. He let that sink in before continuing. Now, Commander, imagine all 43 of your dreadnoughts frozen simultaneously. Imagine your fleet helpless, while Earth defense platforms methodically disable every single ship. Or imagine us simply leaving you frozen until life support runs out in about 4 months from your crew perspective, which would be, subjectively, about 10 seconds for them. Painless, quick, permanent. Silence from the Velok fleet was profound. Its devices around Council worlds can destroy civilizations, Marcus said softly. The devices around Earth can do something worse. Make your mighty fleets completely, utterly irrelevant. So let me make a counterproposal, Commander. You withdraw your fleet. You report to the Council that attacking Earth is impossible. And we pretend this embarrassing display of aggression never happened. Solace's mind raced. Technology that could freeze time? Impossible. But the evidence hung before them. A dreadnought suspended in space like an insect in amber. If you could do this to all our ships, you would have done so already, Solace challenged. True, Marcus admitted. Power requirements are substantial. We can maintain stasis on one dreadnought indefinitely, or all 43 for about 6 minutes. After that, the grid needs 2 hours to recharge. So you are correct. If you attack now, you might succeed in the brief window before we can re-engage the system. He paused, letting Solace consider the odds. Of course, 6 minutes is more than enough time for our railgun platforms to turn your fleet into debris. And even if you somehow won here, even if you destroyed Earth completely, those devices around Velok Prime would still activate on schedule. Your homeworld would still go dark. Your billions would still die. So the question is not whether you can destroy us, Commander. The question is whether mutual annihilation is really preferable to admitting you lost. On Coiled Vengeance Bridge, Solace wrestled with the decision. The Velok prided themselves on strategic thinking. But this was checkmate. Every option led to catastrophe. Release my ship, Solace finally ordered, of course. Marcus nodded to Park. The frozen dreadnought jerked back into normal time. From the crew perspective, nothing had happened. Only ship chronometers showed truth. 6 minutes had passed in an instant. You have made your point, human, Solace said, the words tasting like ash. We are withdrawing. Wise decision, Commander. Oh, and one more thing. Touch Mars colony again, and I will freeze your entire fleet and leave them drifting as navigation hazards. Are we clear? CL. The Velok fleet began departure. 43 dreadnoughts retreating from Earth space in formation. The sight sent shockwaves through every Council species monitoring the situation. The Velok Dominion had just retreated from a single human world as the last ship crossed beyond lunar orbit. Admiral Cole finally relaxed slightly. Mars colony status. Communications restored. No casualties. Colonists did not even realize they were under threat. Marcus sat heavily, suddenly exhausted. How much of that was real, Dr. Park? The temporal stasis. Completely functional. The 6-minute limitation. She smiled slightly. I may have understated our capabilities by a factor of about 10. We could have held all 43 ships for over an hour. Rivera laughed in disbelief. You bluffed about your actual capabilities while demonstrating impossible technology? Seemed prudent to keep something in reserve. The countdown showed 19 hours, 23 minutes remaining. Less than a day before humanity's ultimatum expired. The Velok gambit had failed, but the crisis was far from over. A priority communication came from the Galactic Council. The Koroth Chancellor appeared on screen, pulsing in patterns suggesting profound agitation. Ambassador Webb, we witnessed the confrontation with the Velok fleet. We acknowledge the situation has evolved beyond initial parameters. Is that your way of saying you are ready to negotiate? Marcus asked. The Council is divided. Some species advocate accepting your terms. Others demand continued resistance. A few have suggested alternatives. We require time to reach consensus. You have 18 hours. That is insufficient for proper deliberation. We request an extension. Marcus glanced at Cole, who shook her head fractionally. They had discussed this scenario. The moment they showed weakness, the moment they extended the deadline, the Council would interpret it as uncertainty. The bluff would fail. No extension, Marcus said firmly. The countdown continues. 18 hours, High Chancellor. Make your choice. The transmission ended. In the Galactic Council chambers, a secret meeting convened in shadows. 7 species, including the Korath, Mekton, and 3 others, stood in a circle. The Chancellor spoke. The Velok failed. The Draken abandoned us. If we cannot defeat humans through force, we must consider the unthinkable alternative. Another voice, ancient and cold, responded. You mean the Reapers? Long pause. Yes, we wake the Reapers. Even if it means the end of us all, we cannot allow this precedent. No younger species can ever believe they can challenge our authority and survive. The vote was called. 4 in favor, 3 opposed. The decision was made. Deep in a forgotten sector of space, something ancient began to stir. The first sign appeared as a distortion in deep space detected by Titan Monitoring Station. Captain Lisa Torres, on routine sensor duty, almost dismissed it as cosmic background radiation. But the pattern was wrong. Too regular. Too intentional. Dr. Park, you need to see this. Park arrived within minutes, studying readings with growing concern. This energy signature is not natural. Not any known Council technology either. She pulled up comparative data. Wait, I have seen something like this before. In restricted archives about First Civilization artifacts? The First Civilization was legend among most species. Ancient beyond reckoning, vanished before the Council even existed. But some records suggested they had left behind safeguards. Weapons. Things that were supposed to never be awakened. On Lunar Fortress, Admiral Cole received Park's report with cold dread. Please tell me this is not what I think it is. I do not know what it is. But whatever is out there is heading toward our solar system. Current velocity suggests arrival in 14 hours. Marcus was in his quarters when the alarm came. 14 hours. The countdown stood at 16 hours, 44 minutes. Whatever was approaching would arrive before humanity's ultimatum expired. Emergency meeting convened immediately. Cole, Marcus, Park, Rivera, and secure feeds from Earth's leadership. President Martinez spoke first. Do we have any intelligence on what this thing is? Sending what we found, Park said, uploading data. According to recovered fragments from multiple First Civilization sites, they built autonomous defense systems. Planet killers designed to activate if certain conditions were met. The technology was supposed to be lost. Apparently, someone in the Council knows where to find it. Prime Minister Katri pulled up analysis. If the Council is desperate enough to activate ancient weapons, they cannot control the situation, has become catastrophically unstable, agreed, Marcus said. This changes everything. They are willing to risk all-out war rather than negotiate. Which means an incoming transmission interrupted. Not from the Council, but from General Kane of the Draken. Ambassador, you need to evacuate Earth. Now. Marcus felt ice in his veins. Explain. The Korath made a move I did not expect. They activated a Reaper-class First Civilization weapon. I have only seen records of what these things can do, but Kane paused, and for the first time Marcus saw something like fear in the General's eyes. They do not just destroy planets. They unravel them. Molecular disassembly. Everything within 100 million kilometers becomes component atoms. Your entire solar system is the target. Can it be stopped? According to legend, no. The First Civilization built them to be unstoppable. Once activated and targeted, they continue until the target is erased, or they run out of power, which takes centuries. Admiral Cole was already running calculations. If we evacuate now, we can save maybe 3% of Earth population. 8 billion people, and we can save 250 million at best. Everyone else dies. Marcus's mind raced. There had to be another option. There was always another option. Think. The Reaper was first civilization technology, ancient, based on principles. Humanity had been studying from recovered artifacts, and humanity had gotten very good at analyzing alien technology and finding weaknesses. Dr. Park, the temporal stasis field. Could it affect something that large? The Reaper? Unknown. We have never tried to freeze anything bigger than a dreadnought. This thing is... She pulled up sensor data 50 kilometers across and generating more power than a star. Even if we could freeze it, we would drain every reactor on Earth and still might not have enough power. But it is possible? Theoretically. But Marcus, even if we froze it, that does not solve the problem. The moment we release it, the thing continues toward Earth. We would just be delaying the inevitable. Rivera leaned forward. Unless we do not release it. What if we froze it permanently? That would require a constant power input. Forever? We would need to dedicate our entire planetary power grid to maintaining the field. Better than extinction, Rivera countered. Marcus shook his head. No, that is not a solution. That is a prison. We would be trapped maintaining the field forever vulnerable to any disruption. The Council could wait us out or sabotage our power systems. We need something better. He stared at the data, at the approaching monstrosity, at the countdown timer that now seemed almost quaint. 12 hours until ultimatum expired. 14 hours until the Reaper arrived. 2 hours of overlap where humanity needed to demonstrate they had one while. Simultaneously fighting for survival. An idea. Formed, crazy, desperate, but possible. Dr. Park, can we move the Reaper using quantum displacement? Move it? We can barely freeze A, she stopped, eyes widening. You want to displace it into subspace permanently, can we? The power requirements would be astronomical. We would need, she began, calculating frantically. The devices around Council worlds, they are designed to maintain permanent effect. If we networked them, combined their output, directed it through Earth's defensive grid, our fingers flew across holographic keyboards. Yes, maybe, if we activated all 1,247 devices simultaneously and channeled. Their combined output through quantum entangled relays, we might generate enough power to permanently displace something. As massive as the Reaper? That means activating the devices, Cole said slowly. The Council worlds would go dark. For approximately 47 seconds, Park clarified. Just long enough to siphon their power output. They would come back online after. But during those 47 seconds, 847 civilizations would experience total technological blackout. Marcus understood the implications immediately. They would know we could have destroyed them, that we chose not to. Exactly. We would be proving our capability and our restraint simultaneously. President Martinez's voice cut through the channel. Ambassador, if this fails, you have just guaranteed mutual annihilation. Every Council world goes dark, the Reaper continues toward Earth, and we are all dead. If we do nothing, Earth dies anyway, Marcus replied. At least this way we are fighting back. Proceed. The next 8 hours were a blur of preparation. Every human ship, every outpost, every colony working together to coordinate the most complex technological operation in history. The defensive grid around Earth was reprogrammed. The devices around Council worlds were synchronized. Quantum relays were established across the galaxy, and through it all, the Reaper continued its inexorable approach. 6 hours out, it was visible to deep space telescopes. A writhing mass of impossible geometry. First civilization technology that bent physics simply by existing. Ships that got too close reported crew madness, their minds unable to process what they were seeing. Marcus broadcast one final message to the Galactic Council. IGH Chancellor, by now you are aware that something ancient and terrible is approaching Earth. You activated it. You pointed it at us. You chose annihilation over negotiation. So let me be absolutely clear. In 4 hours, that thing reaches Earth. In 3 hours, 57 minutes, we are going to make it disappear. To do that, we are going to activate every device around your world simultaneously. For 47 seconds, your civilizations will go dark, not destroyed, just offline. Think of it as a preview of what we could do if we wanted to. When your systems come back online, the Reaper will be gone, Earth will be intact, and you will understand exactly what just happened. He paused, letting that sink in. You tried to call our bluff. You tried force. You tried an ancient super weapon. None of it worked. Now you get to watch us save ourselves using your own power grids. And after, we are going to have a conversation about how things work in this galaxy from now on, because we are done talking. We are done being patient. We are done playing by your rules. The transmission ended. 2 hours before Reaper arrival, every human in the solar system received the same message. Take cover. Secure all loose objects. Prepare for massive electromagnetic pulse. This is not a drill. 1 hour out, the Reaper was close enough that its effects were felt on Earth. Electronics malfunctioning. People reporting strange dreams. The sky taking on colors that should not exist. 30 minutes out, Dr. Park gave the final check. Every system reported green. It would work. It had to work. Admiral Cole stood at her command station, watching the countdown to activation. Around her command staff waited in tense silence. This was it. Humanity's entire gambit, their whole defiant stand against the galaxy, came down to the next few minutes. All stations report ready, Captain Okonkwo announced. We are go for Operation Displacement. Activate on my mark, Cole ordered. 3, 2, 1, mark. Across the galaxy, 1,247 devices activated. Simultaneously, on 847 worlds, lights went out. Power grids failed. Communications died. Billions of beings suddenly found themselves in darkness, experiencing the vulnerability humanity had threatened. For 47 seconds that felt like eternity, the elder species of the Council learned what powerlessness meant. That combined energy, the output of 847 planetary power grids, was channeled through quantum-entangled relays across the galaxy. Focused and concentrated, directed through Earth's defensive grid toward a single point in space, where an ancient horror was about to reach its target, the Reaper. 50 kilometers of first civilization nightmare suddenly found itself in two places at once. The quantum displacement field wrapped around it, creating a bubble of reality, disconnected from normal space-time. For a single, frozen moment, the Reaper existed simultaneously. In real space and subspace anchored to, neither belonging to both. Then with a flash, visible from Earth that turned the sky, Violet the Reaper was gone. Not destroyed, simply elsewhere. Displaced permanently into a pocket of subspace, where it would drift forever, unable to affect anything in normal reality. On 847 worlds, power returned. The 47 seconds ended. Civilization resumed, but nothing was the same. In the Galactic Council chambers, absolute silence reigned. Every species just experienced humanity's power firsthand. The Chancellor's energy form pulsed erratically. Finally, a transmission came through. Not to the Council, but directly to Marcus Webb. It was from a species humanity had never heard of, the Architects, calling from the galactic core. An ancient voice, older than the Council itself, spoke. We have been watching. We have been waiting. For 10,000 years, we wondered if any younger species would have the courage to challenge the established order. The cycle finally turns. Come to the core, humans. We have much to discuss, and bring the Council. They need to understand what they have been preventing. The countdown expired. 0 hours, 0 minutes, 0 seconds. It was over. But somehow, it felt like it was just beginning. The summons from the Architects changed everything. No species in the Council had heard from them in over 8,000 years. Most considered them extinct or ascended beyond physical reality. But their message was clear. Humanity and the Council were to present themselves at the galactic core at coordinates no known species had ever visited. Marcus stood in his quarters aboard the newly christened UN's Defiance, Earth's first true deep space diplomatic vessel. Through the viewport, he could see the fleet that would accompany him. 20 ships representing humanity's emergence as a galactic power. Not the entire fleet. Not even a fraction of it. But enough to send a message. Admiral Cole appeared on his communication screen. Final departure checklist complete. Escort fleet ready? In Marcus, the Council is sending 472 representatives. They are taking this seriously. It should be. The architects do not issue invitations lightly. The journey to the galactic core took 3 weeks at maximum acceleration. During that time, the galaxy watched and waited. The confrontation had left scars. 847 worlds had experienced humanity's power. The Reaper's disappearance had been observed by every species with sensors. And the question on everyone's mind was simple. What comes next? Marcus spent the voyage in negotiations. Not with the Council directly. They were still processing what had happened. But with individual species reaching out privately. The Mekdon hive mind wanted technology exchanges. The Draken proposed mutual defense pacts. Dozens of smaller species asked for protection from Council overreach. We are becoming what we fought against, Colonel Rivera observed during one strategy session. These species see us as the new power to either align with or fear. Then we need to prove we are different, Marcus replied. The Council maintained order through fear and hierarchy. We need to offer something better. Like what? Choice, equality, the radical idea that no species should have to beg for basic rights. General Kane contacted them on the 12th day of travel. Ambassador, I wanted you to understand what you are walking into. The architects are not like the Council. They do not negotiate. They do not compromise. They observe, they judge, and they act. If they have summoned you to the core, it is because they are deciding whether your species deserves to survive. Encouraging, Marcus said dryly. I'm serious. The architects built the first civilization technology. They are the reason the Council exists. They established it as a governing structure 10 millennia ago, then withdrew to let younger species manage themselves. If they are returning now, it means they believe the Council has failed. And if they decide to wipe the slate clean, then we are all dead. Council, humanity, everyone. The architects do not think in terms of politics or power. They think in terms of galactic stability. If they determine that the current situation is unsustainable, they will simply reset things. Marcus felt that sink in. They had fought so hard to challenge the Council, proven humanity's capability and resolve. But what if all of that was meaningless to beings who could erase civilizations with a thought? The galactic core loomed ahead. 1 billion stars packed into impossible density, space itself bent by their combined gravity. The architect's coordinates led to a clearing in the chaos, an impossible bubble of calm space where something vast awaited. It was not a station. It was not a ship. It was architecture on a scale that defied comprehension. A structure the size of a solar system built from materials that should not exist, generating power that made stars look like candles. What are we looking at? Whispered Captain Torres from the helm. The Architects' Forum, Dr. Park said quietly. According to recovered texts, it is where they gather to make decisions that affect the entire galaxy. We are not just meeting with them. We are being brought before their seat of power. The human fleet and massive council convoy approached together, ancient enemies united by uncertainty. They were guided into docking structures designed for ships of every size and configuration. As they disembarked representatives from 847 council species and 20 human delegates found themselves in a reception hall that could have held entire cities. Then, the architects appeared. They did not walk in. They did not materialize. They had simply always been there, and everyone suddenly perceived them. Beings of pure crystalline thought existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously, their forms shifting based on the observer's ability to comprehend them. 5 of them stood in judgment. The first architect spoke, and its voice resonated in every language simultaneously. We are the architects. We built the foundation of galactic civilization. We established the council to govern when we withdrew. For 10,000 years, we have watched. For 10,000 years, we have waited. Now, The experiment reaches its conclusion. The Chancellor's energy form pulsed forward. Great architects, we have maintained your design. The Council has brought order to chaos, prevented galactic war, established laws that you have calcified. The second architect interrupted. You have transformed governance into tyranny. You have prevented growth in the name of stability. You have created a hierarchy where power is determined by age rather than merit. Council representatives stirred uneasily. The third architect turned its attention to Marcus. And you humans? New species, barely spacefaring. Yet you held weapons to the throats of 847 civilizations and demanded equality. Explain. Marcus stepped forward, very aware that the wrong words could doom not just humanity, but potentially the entire galaxy. We learned from watching the Council. We saw how power worked, how threats maintained order, how the strong dominated the weak, and we understood that to be taken seriously, we had to prove we were dangerous enough to matter. You imitated your oppressors. No. We demonstrated we could not be oppressed. There is a difference. We did not want to conquer. We did not want to rule. We wanted a seat at the table. We wanted our voice to be heard. And the only way to achieve that was to make ignoring us more costly than negotiating with us. You held the galaxy hostage, created a stalemate, mutually assured destruction. It is not elegant. It is not honorable. But it is effective. And it gave us leverage to demand what should have been offered freely: basic respect and equal standing. The fourth architect spoke for the first time. The Council argues, you are too young, too aggressive, too unpredictable to hold power. They claim granting you equal status would encourage another younger species to make similar demands, destabilizing the galactic order. Good, Marcus said simply. The silence was absolute. I apologize, the Chancellor said weakly. Marcus turned to face the assembled Council representatives. You are right that other species will see what we did and be inspired. You are right that the hierarchy you built for 10,000 years is now under threat. But that is not a flaw in our actions. That is the whole point. The galactic order you created is built on suppression, on keeping younger species in their place, on preventing change. That is not stability. It is stagnation. And it benefits no one except those already in power. He gestured to the architects. They built the Council to govern, yes. But governance should not mean permanent rule by the same ancient species. It should mean creating systems where all species have the opportunity to contribute, to grow, to challenge old ideas with new ones. The fact that the Council sees equality as a threat tells you everything. You need to understand about how broken the system has become. Which had remained silent until now shifted, in a way that suggested deep consideration. You speak of change, of disruption, of destabilizing existing power structures. Why should we permit this? Why should we allow the younger species to challenge the established order? And that order has prevented galactic war for millennia. Marcus met what might have been eyes, because preventing war is not the same as creating peace. The Council has kept species from fighting by keeping them weak, dependent, and afraid. That is not peace. That is occupation. Real peace comes from systems where every species has a stake in maintaining stability, because they benefit from it, not because they fear the consequences of challenging it. Pretty words. The Veloc ambassador hissed. But you still threaten billions of lives. Because you gave us no alternative, Marcus shot back. For 73 years, humanity tried to work within your system. We followed your protocols. We accepted your restrictions. We made reasonable requests through proper channels. And every single time we were denied, delayed, or dismissed, you treated us like children who needed to learn patience. But the truth is, you never intended to grant us equality. You wanted us to accept our place at the bottom of your hierarchy forever? He turned back to the architects. So yes, we got aggressive. Yes, we took risks. Yes, we built weapons and made threats. Because the alternative was to accept permanent second-class status. And if that makes us dangerous or unpredictable, then I would argue the real problem is a system that forces species to become dangerous, just to be heard. The architects conferred. Silently, their crystalline forms, pulsing with incomprehensible communication. Finally, the first architect spoke again. The council was established to govern, but it was meant to evolve, to adapt, to change with time. Instead, it has become rigid. The elder species have held power for so long they have forgotten it was meant to be temporary. Humanity's challenge has exposed this failure, then punished them. The Draken's supreme commander roared. They violated every law, threatened every world. Make an example that prevents others from attempting the same, the first architect said. We will make a different example. The space around them shifted. Suddenly, every being present could see vast projections. Records of council history. Species that had been powerful were now extinct. Species that had been young were now ancient. The galactic map rewriting itself over and over as civilizations rose and fell. This is the pattern we intended, the second architect explained. Power flowing, changing, evolving. New species bringing new ideas. Old species teaching wisdom gained from experience. A dynamic system where governance reflected the needs of all species, not just the strongest. Instead, the third architect continued, you created a static hierarchy. The same species have ruled for thousands of years. Younger species are perpetually excluded. Innovation is suppressed in favor of tradition. The council has become the opposite of what we designed. The fourth architect's form solidified into something almost accusatory. Humanity did not break the system. They revealed that it was already broken. And now we must decide. Do we allow the status quo to continue, or do we enforce the change that should have occurred naturally? What are you proposing? The Chancellor asked, though fear was evident in its energy patterns. The fifth architect spoke the final judgment. Restructuring. The council will be reorganized. The permanent seats will be eliminated. All species will hold equal voting power with representation based on population and territorial holdings, not age. Humans will be granted full council membership immediately. And to prevent future stagnation, we establish a new rule. No species may hold primary governing authority for more than 500 standard years. Power must circulate. The chamber erupted. Council species shouting protests. Human delegates looking stunned. Everyone trying to process what had just been declared. The Velok ambassador protested. You are destroying millennia of order. No, the first architect corrected. We are restoring the order we originally intended. The experiment of static governance has failed. We are implementing the dynamic system we should have enforced long ago. And if we refuse, the Chancellor asked quietly. The architect's form suddenly blazed with power that made the Reaper look insignificant. Then we will dismantle the council entirely and build a new governing structure from nothing. The choice is yours. Adapt or be replaced. The weight of that ultimatum settled over everyone present. The architects were not negotiating. They were commanding, and every species understood what that meant. Even the most powerful beings in the galaxy were subject to a higher authority. Over the following weeks, the restructuring began. The council convened in emergency sessions to rewrite governing principles that had stood for millennia. Humanity participated as full members, their voice equal to species 100 times older. It was chaotic, frustrating, and revolutionary. Marcus stood before the newly reformed council 3 months later, addressing a chamber that looked very different than before. No more elevated seats for elder species. No more hierarchical arrangement. Just a circular floor where every delegation stood as equals. The road ahead will not be easy, Marcus said. We have centuries of grievances to address, systems to redesign, trust to build. But for the first time in 10,000 years, we have the opportunity to create something better. Not a hierarchy built on fear, but a true cooperation built on mutual respect. He looked around the chamber, meeting eyes and sensor. Clusters and energy patterns from species across the galaxy. Humanity came here angry. We came here armed. We came here ready to threaten everything rather than accept oppression. But what we want is not domination. It is partnership. We want to contribute our ideas, our energy, our perspective to a galaxy that has been running the same way for too long. We want to be part of something greater than ourselves. The Un's defiance departed the galactic core 6 weeks later, returning to Earth with news that would reshape humanity's understanding of its place in the galaxy. They were no longer the new species fighting for recognition. They were full members of galactic civilization with all the rights and responsibilities that entailed. Marcus stood at the observation deck as Earth came into view. That beautiful blue-green marble that had seemed so vulnerable just months ago? Think we made the right choice? Rivera asked. Threatening everything. Pushing so hard. Forcing the architects to intervene. I think we made the only choice we could live with, Marcus replied. We could have accepted our place. Waited patiently for thousands of years. Maybe eventually gained recognition. But that would have meant accepting injustice because challenging it was dangerous. And I would rather risk everything than teach future generations that power is something you have to beg for. Earth welcomed them as heroes. Parades in major cities. Speeches praising their courage, but Marcus knew the truth. They had not won through courage or heroism. They had won through calculation, leverage, and a willingness to gamble everything on conviction. It was not noble. It was not clean, but it was effective, and in the cold mathematics of galactic politics, effectiveness mattered more than nobility. 5 years later, Marcus stood in the same judgment chamber where it had all begun. But now he stood as Earth's primary representative to the Galactic Council, delivering a proposal for joint research initiatives with the Mechton hive mind. The proposal passed with 73% approval. A new partnership formed, one of hundreds that were slowly rewiring galactic civilization into something that resembled actual cooperation. Rather than domination, that night Marcus sat in his quarters, reviewing reports from Earth. The colony on Mars had reached 10 million people. Europa Station was now the largest research facility in human space. 3 new ships had been added to the fleet. Humanity was growing, expanding, claiming its place among the stars. Marcus stood at his window, looking at the council chambers. Lights from hundreds of different species, all working together in the complex dance of galactic governance. It was not perfect. It was not always fair. But it was better than what came before, and perhaps that was enough. Humanity had come to the stars expecting to find their place. Instead, they had forced the entire galaxy to make room for them. Not through conquest or destruction, but through the simple, terrifying act of refusing to accept a subordinate role they had pushed back against. 847 civilizations and won, and in doing so they had changed the rules for everyone. Marcus returned to his desk and pulled up the next day's agenda. 18 items requiring negotiation, debate, compromise. He smiled. The galaxy was finally listening, and humanity was just getting started. Retriclod can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. Sonnet 4.5.